Hi there, welcome to EduretiX, where we make your high school life simple. I'm Aniket and today I'm here with a problem solving video on kinematics. This is the part 1. It'll be really helpful for students who are preparing for the AP physics paper or the GCSE physics paper. So let's begin. Like I've always advised, whenever you see a new question, first pause the video, try it yourself and then only look at our solution. Let's begin. An object has an initial velocity of 15 meters per second. How long must it accelerate at a constant rate of 3 meters per second square before its average velocity is equal to twice its initial velocity? Okay, so the initial velocity is given to us, 15 meters per second. Acceleration is 3 meters per second square. Average velocity is equal to twice the initial velocity. This information we need to make use of. So V average is basically V initial plus V final over 2. This is the usual formula. And it's saying the average velocity becomes twice its initial. 2Vi is equal to Vi plus Vf over 2. This is going to give us V final is equal to 3 times V initial. Cool. So now V final is 3 times V initial. V initial is given to be 15. So V final is 45 meters per second. Acceleration is given to us. Now this question becomes really simple. The first equation of motion, V is equal to U plus AT. So 3t is equal to 30. T is equal to 10 seconds. So the answer is B. Okay. A stone is thrown vertically upward with an initial speed of 5 meters per second. What is the velocity of the stone 3 seconds later? Okay. So there's a stone which is thrown from the bottom point with an initial speed of 5 meters per second, comes down like this. Okay, and they're asking the velocity of the stone after 3 seconds. Okay, so the question looks pretty straightforward. Initial velocity 5, then we'll take the direction conventions first. Upwards is positive, downwards is negative. Always remember to do this as the first thing. Okay, so and the velocity after 3 seconds, the acceleration is a negative 10. So V is equal to U plus AT, the first equation of motion. V final we need to find. U is given to be positive 5. Acceleration is a negative 10 and T is 3 seconds. So this gives us 5 minus 30, which is negative 25. What does negative mean? Negative 25 meters per second. That means the velocity is downwards. So negative 25 meters per second, that is 25 meters per second downward, option B. Okay. Now, a very important thing to note here, one can argue here that since it's thrown with a speed of 5 meters per second, how is it able to achieve a speed of 25 meters per second downwards in the return journey? Because what we've studied, the motion is symmetrical from the bottommost point to the topmost point, again to the bottommost point, like from A to B to C. The motion from A to B is symmetrical, exactly equal to the motion from B to C. So how is this possible? The negative 25 meters per second. So in this case, the question has not mentioned that the bottommost point before reaching the top point and after reaching the top point are the same. So it's most likely like this, like the person is standing over a platform or at height and he or she throws the stone from here and then the stone continues its journey downwards. Okay, because from the topmost point, from here till here, this motion A to B will be exactly symmetrical till C, but we are going all the way till D. So don't let this confusion come in where how can the stone achieve the 25 meters per second speed. Okay, to cross check that, you can actually check how much time is taken from A to B. Okay, so V at B, the velocity would be 0. At A, it's 5 meters per second. If we apply the formula V is equal to U plus AT, the first equation of motion for the motion from A to B, let's see that. 0 is equal to positive 5 minus 10 T. So T is equal to 5 over 10, which is 0.5 seconds. So in 0.5 seconds, it has completed the journey from A to B. That means in the next 0.5 seconds, it will complete the journey from B to C, but then it will continue going downwards. Because if we see at, let's say at point D, it's 25 meters per second downwards. Let's see how much time is taken from B to that point. So final velocity is 25, initial is 0. 25 is equal to 0 minus and this will also be negative, minus 10t. If you see the t now, it's 25 over 10, which is going to be 2.5 seconds. So everything is consistent. 0.5 seconds to go from A to B, 2.5 to go from B to D, and the total is 3 seconds. And we got the answer as 3 seconds later, the velocity would be 25 meters per second downwards. Okay, so I took this much time for this question just to explain to you how this would be possible, like how would you visualize this whole scenario. Okay, otherwise the answer is pretty straightforward. It's option B. Okay, let's move on to the next question. A stone is thrown horizontally with an initial speed of 10 meters per second from a bridge. Assuming that air resistance is negligible, how long would it take for the stone to strike the water 80 meters below the bridge? Okay, so let's visualize the situation. Let's say here's the bridge and the stone is thrown horizontally at 10 meters per second from the bridge. The stone will go with this kind of a trajectory into the water that is 80 meters from the point of throwing. Okay, so we're asking the time taken to do that. Here, the important thing to remember is we'll split the motion now into vertical and horizontal axes. So everything would be different for both. Like the vertical, only the vertical quantities would be considered. For the horizontal motion, only the horizontal quantities. So initial velocity, let's say u. So ux is 10 meters per second. Just a second. And uy is 0 meters per second because there's no vertical component of the initial velocity. Then the sx, the displacement is in the x direction, that's unknown and we don't exactly need it. Displacement in the y direction is negative 80 meters. This is what we're going to use. Okay, so this quantity, and then acceleration in the y direction, ay, is the gravity, negative 10 meters per second squared. So we'll use this equation, the third equation of motion. So sy negative 80 is equal to uyt, which is 0, minus 10t squared. Sorry, half 10t squared. So now the negatives cancel and then t squared is equal to 16. What is t equal to? 4 seconds, plus minus 4, but time will not be negative, so 4 seconds. Option C. So essentially we did not need this information at all, the horizontal velocity. Okay. A soccer ball at rest on the ground is kicked with an initial velocity of 10 meters per second at a launch angle of 30 degrees. Calculate its total flight time, assuming that air resistance is negligible. Okay, since they've given this launch angle, the motion is going to be a projectile motion and it's going to look like this. Let's say this is the initial velocity, 10 meters per second, and the ball is going to travel like this. It'll go to a topmost point and then again, and these two halves of the motion would be totally symmetrical from A to B and then from B to C. Okay, so this is the projectile motion. I would suggest don't go for direct formulas in projectile motion, rather do them in the simple way of splitting the motion into vertical and horizontal motions and then analyze them using the equations of motion. That will be much simpler. Okay, so what are they asking? Calculate the total flight time. Okay, so total flight time, that means the total time it takes for going from A to C in the horizontal motion, or going from A to B and then back to C in the vertical form. Okay, so we'll take just the vertical one for ease of solving the question. So the vertical component is going to be, this is 30 degrees, vertical component is going to be 10 sine 30, horizontal would be 10 cos 30. Okay, so initial velocity is 10 sine 30. At the topmost point, the vertical velocity is going to be 0, so Vy is going to be 0. We're just finding the time from A to B. Okay, so in that the U initial velocity is 10 sine 30, the final velocity would be 0, and then the acceleration is a negative 10. Acceleration is negative 10 meters per second square. Negative because the downward direction is negative. We take that as the sign convention, and upwards is positive. Okay, so let's apply the equation of motion. V0 is equal to U, which is 10 sine 30 positive, minus 10t. V is equal to U plus 80. So from that, minus 10t. So t is equal to basically sine 30, or t is equal to half seconds. So if half the journey is covered in 0.5 seconds, the complete journey would be covered in 1 second. So the answer to this question is 1 second, option B. Okay, that is all for this video. Stay tuned for the next few parts and keep practicing. We're going to bring in some more complex questions in the part 2 and part 3 of kinematics. Thank you, like, share and subscribe.